The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local community-centered journalism today by signing up to be a monthly sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. It doesn't take much money to support local news.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. Today on the program, we'll hear from Nanaimo's mayor on the cancelled AAP, and we'll bring you memories of a downtown Nanaimo landmark with an uncertain future. Before we get into it, let's bring you up to speed. Nanaimo is looking to upgrade its public works yard, the place where, among other things, city vehicles like fire and garbage trucks are serviced. To do that, the city is hoping to take out a loan of up to $48.5 million. Local governments in BC need elector approval to borrow money. Nanaimo tried securing that with something called an Alternative Approval Process, or AAP. During an AAP, people opposed to a project, in this case the city taking out a loan, have a window of time to submit a form that indicates their opposition. If more than 10% of eligible voters submit that form, the borrowing can't proceed. The city's first attempt at an AAP on this issue wrapped up in November, but a clerical error forced them to redo the process. This week, the city had to cancel that second attempt after another error came to light. The issue this time was that official notice of the AAP was given on January 17th, but the elector response form wasn't made available until the 18th. Which goes against the rules for AAPs set out in provincial legislation. With the AAP cancelled, the Public Works Yard project is on hold as City Council waits for a report from staff to suggest potential next steps. I spoke with Nanaimo Mayor Leonard Krog for an update on the issue. Council directed staff to report back to them on options to fund Phase 1 of the Operations Center project. When do you expect to get that report back from staff?
I expect it will take some time, and by that I mean weeks, potentially into months, because council, has formal council meetings every couple of weeks, etc. And clearly this is important. I must say, as the mayor and on behalf of council, obviously sorry it's worked out this way with two attempts, if you will, that have both been set aside. I know it caused frustration amongst some in the community, but I'm comforted by the fact that based on the numbers we've seen come in terms of people's responses, the process of educating the public about what the Public Works Yard was all about and the necessity for it produced substantially fewer protests, if you will, or using the alternate approval process. So what that tells me, and hearing anecdotally from people who once they understood why we were doing it, said, you know what, I can support this. I see even in the Beefs and Bouquets in today's bulletin, there's a comment saying thanks for the tour and appreciate it and understand why we've done it this way.
Is there anything you can tell me about the legal advice that the city received that led to the decision to cancel the AAP outright?
Very good question, and the question I would think of an intrepid reporter. But no, answering about the legal advice wouldn't be appropriate. But what I can say is our own staff have pointed out where the problem was, which has been acknowledged and is in the staff report and is available for the public to see as it was when the report was made formally in open council on Monday and available on the city website. It's a fairly technical piece of legislation, and I'm not faulting the government for it, but it's fairly easy to interpret it one way as opposed to another. And the fact is these processes have to be, T's crossed and I's dotted. So it is unfortunate because for me, and I think it's fair to say on behalf of council, the project is needed, it's in the public interest, and it's important, and it should be built. The alternatives before the public were from a practical perspective, to pay for it over time by way of borrowing, long-term borrowing, the way anybody buys a house or purchases a major item such as a car, you pay it over time and you pay some interest on it. or you accumulate all the money and pay it off quickly. Now, the only way the city accumulates all the money is if we literally levy enough taxes within a year or two to pay for the whole thing, which would be roughly a ballpark $1,000 or so, or we spread it out over time. And on the average home, it was estimated that would be $77 a year, which is, about less than $7 a month, which we didn't see as an extraordinary amount considering the necessity for the project.
What's your reaction as mayor to the fact that we've tried this alternative approval process 2 times, and 2 times it has not succeeded, not because the threshold was reached, but because of administrative errors on the city's end?
Look, embarrassing, sorry, apologize. As I said in December, the buck stops here, and it does at my desk and with council. Having said that, the alternative approval process is there for very good reason. It is designed specifically for projects like this that are in the public need realm as opposed to the public may wish to have realm. And the concept is not that you give the responsibility for the decision over to the public. The concept behind the alternative approval process is that if people feel strongly about it, all they have to do is fill out a form, drop it off at City Hall, send it in by mail, and if enough voters are upset about it, then it forces council to either pursue a full-blown referendum, which is quite costly, and, councils can take the decision from there if they think it's worth proceeding with or they don't. As I say, my personal view, and I think I can speak for council, is this is needed and it should go ahead. The question in the future is how, and how is it going to be paid for?
Are there any changes that you'd like to see, maybe to provincial legislation to enable local governments to more easily build critical infrastructure projects?
I don't think so, honestly. Look, this process was used for the fire hall, for heaven's sakes. This process has been used for other projects. This process is being used all around British Columbia from time to time where appropriate. The Capital Regional District has just, I think don't quote me, is it $85 million they've approved expenditure through the alternative approval process? I'm conscious of the fact that a number of the individuals who were out appearing in council, holding such charming signs as, what was it, blackmailed or bribed, ? Directed at council, which I thought was rather ridiculous. A number of those folks are the folks I saw and spoke to at anti-vax demonstrations during the height of COVID, and people who, for whatever reason, assert, I hope not believe too deeply, that I or members of council are controlled by the World Economic Forum. I mean, the conspiracy theory aspect of this, and it's not everybody by any stretch, but a number of the folks in the faces, that's what they have said, that's what they've indicated in social media that has been reported back to me, and that's what their signs would demonstrate in council. So it's a small, but I would argue very vocal group, and they're certainly entitled to do it. And this process is designed to give them that voice. It's not designed to take away power from council in a sense. It is designed to give people a voice who feel strongly about a major or significant public expenditure. It's a tool of democracy, because otherwise, candidly, we are in a representative democracy. You elect the mayor and council, you elect your MLAs, you elect your MPs to govern. You expect them to devote their time and to the job. You expect them to secure and read and understand the information and to come to decisions on your behalf. We don't go back to the people every day and say, we want you to vote on this, just like we voted in 10 different ways yesterday in the BC legislature or made 25 decisions at council. That's the point of representative democracy. And the alternative approval process, this may gall some people as I say it, but I repeat, it is designed to give the public a voice in a decision which would otherwise, properly speaking, be made just by council without resorting to the public.
Do you think there's a realistic chance? Well, there's a number of different options for this city. I want to ask you 2 of them. I'll do it back to back. Do you think there's a realistic chance we'll go through maybe a 3rd attempt at an AAP on this?
I don't think there's a realistic chance of anything one way or the other, and I'm not being evasive when I say that. Quite simply, staff will come back to us with options that are realistic based on the cost of the project, what's been done to date, and what is legally appropriate and possible. We have a limited ability as council to spend this kind of money on behalf of the public. And I would remind everyone it is on the public's behalf.
Is it fair to say, though, that those three options are very likely going to be limited to running another AAP to borrow the money, running a referendum to borrow the money, or a short-term property tax increase to spend the money?
Those are certainly in the realm of possibilities.
Is there something else that could happen that isn't one of those three things?
Council could back down and say, all right, to heck with it. We're just not going to do it, and we're going to let the workers work in uncivilized conditions, basically, and we're not going to worry about a quake or deteriorating equipment or the health of our workers, and we'll sit back until the public outcry becomes so enormous because something happens, or the union or WorkSafe BC falls on us. We could do that, but I say this, and it will sound offensive as I say it. This is a project like many that needs doing. We cannot do everything at once. Previous councils have decided, for whatever reasons, not to proceed with this as they could have done earlier. If this had been done 15 years ago, and it was justifiable back then, arguably, we'd be pretty close to paying it off by now, and we wouldn't be having this discussion today. Is council prepared to do that? Put it off again? I don't think so. And frankly, I say, as someone who's used to taking a few knocks in political life, I certainly hope not. I believe it's in the public interest. It is for the public good. It is necessary. And for people who actually took the time to come out and view the public works site as it exists, who understood the numbers, who looked at the material, who looked at the contingencies built into the process, the contingencies amount to a substantial portion of the estimated cost. The borrowing is authorizing up to $48.5 million of borrowing. Already contingencies for inflation and potential higher construction costs, etc., were incorporated in it. I still think it's in the public interest to do it.
I think worth highlighting again, based on your answer, that again, we haven't been unable to borrow the money as a city because of 8,000 people expressing their opposition, but because of administrative hiccups. In that context, so the first alternative approval process would have wrapped up in early November. Now we don't know. It could be weeks, months before we know what is going to happen. What's the impact of that delay?
Well, I think the impact of the delay, it'll certainly be frustrating for people who don't want to see this happen at all, and hope that council will just announce that we're not going to do it. It'll be frustrating for people who are opposed to the whole use and concept of the alternate approval process, who will say, I have to, wait before I can go out and start to gather signatures again. But from my perspective, it places at risk the delivery of public services should we come to a real emergency, whether it be an earthquake or whatever the case may be. The inefficiencies that come with working out of the kind of structures that exist now, the risk to staff, and the frustration our staff feel working in conditions like that. If anyone toured the place, they know what's up. And we have a significant fleet of vehicles and equipment that needs constant maintenance. And those part of that facility is open literally 24/7, apart from Christmas Day. And even then, it has to be open sometimes. So again, it's a necessary public service that you can't just shut down. If one grocery store in town shuts down, you know what? You can go to the next one. If the city isn't doing what it's supposed to do, there is no alternative.
Do you have full confidence that we would be able to run the alternative approval process again going forward?
Let me put it this way. Based on the numbers received last time, when there was a much higher level of what I will call public ignorance around it, a lack of public understanding, the numbers were substantially higher. Based on the forms received to date, it's pretty clear the enthusiasm to oppose it has diminished substantially. That's the reality of the numbers. We've got about 2,300 in now. We had over 3,000 last time. Now, people will say, oh, well, there was another week to run. My sense is that given the ferocity of the canvassing, which certainly many of the folks who were opposed to it indicated they were undertaking in their speeches in public places, including council, one would have thought if the public opposition was strong, they would have had a much higher number than last time. I personally don't think they were going to hit that number this time. And arguably from their perspective, that's I appreciate the frustration that comes with that. But the reality is most people, like us or lump us, support council's reasoning on this project. That's my sense of it. That's my political sense. If I'm wrong, so be it. I mean, we'll either find out at the next election or whenever, or if there is another alternate approval process undertaken, or a referendum, or whatever the case may be.
And you have confidence in logistically the ability to pull it off within the provincial legislation's guidelines?
Yes. And, I mean, goodness knows, mistakes have been made, opinions vary on what was the correct process, etc. But I'm ever the optimist as I am in most things in life, that whatever process is undertaken next time, if there is a process undertaken, it will be conducted correctly, and that we will get, I think, what is the appropriate result, which is that the public works yard gets the first stage of the necessary upgrades and replacement that is required.
Is there anything else you think the public needs to know on this?
Well, I think the public, if they're really concerned or hear something on the doorstep from somebody or on Facebook, for heaven's sakes, I am not a fan of social media, and I'll repeat here what I've said many times. Social media, as far as I'm concerned, is largely a cesspool. Go to the city website. You can read the reports that council has in front of it. You can read the reports that staff have made. You can read the studies and comments. You can read the debate. You can hear what members of council have had to say. You can hear what members of the public have had to say when they've addressed council on the issue, and they can make a decision based on that. This is a democracy. We function well, notwithstanding the complaints, and people can look at the information and come to their own conclusions. I have come to the conclusion, based on what I have seen and heard from everybody, that it's the Nanaimo Operations Center needs to be built.
Nanaimo Mayor Leonard Krog speaking with me about the cancelled AAP and the future of the Public Works Yard project.
Midcoast Morning is made possible by the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Support Midcoast Morning and CHLY's nonprofit newsroom today by becoming a sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. Local news can't survive without your support. Another way to help us out is to share this show with your friends and tell them why they should support us. Finally, if you're listening to the podcast edition of Midcoast Morning, go and give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast feed you use. It helps people find us.
A downtown Nanaimo landmark is up for sale. The Superette on Albert Street is a grocery store that's found a niche by offering discounted items that might be difficult for other retailers to sell. After more than 40 years as owner, Gary Negrin is hoping to retire. While not every item is cheaper than in a normal grocery store, when I paid a visit, there was an array of heavily discounted bread, meat, and produce. I spoke with some shoppers about their memories of the Superette and reactions to the news that it's for sale.
My name is Erica, and I live in the kind of downtown area with all of the kind of characters down there. It's an interesting time.
And do you shop at the Superette a lot?
I shop here often. It's kind of the only means of cheap food in town right now. It's got really good prices for their meats, so I regularly come here for the meat deals. They usually have really great deals on little snacks and tiny staples and such, so I'm constantly here for those, because everywhere else they're just so expensive.
Have you heard that the store is for sale?
No, I haven't.
What does the store mean to you? Like, what would happen if something were to change about it?
Oof. That would be really stressful for not only me, but for a lot of people in this neighborhood. We depend on this store to be here for the deals and the friendly atmosphere, to be honest. Like, there are just things that are offered here that are never offered at any kind of other store that's a corporation, that's for sure. So it's a staple in the neighborhood, for sure.
Do you have any maybe favorite memories of the Superette?
Honestly, I've gotten along really well with almost all of their workers, and I've made really good bonds. In fact, one of their workers actually helped me pick up a TV from Costco because I didn't have a car, so they actually went out of their way and helped me. And yeah, I run into them all the time when they're not working, and they're just as friendly outside as inside. So it's just a great place, and Sherry's awesome. She's the best at this. Oh, I don't know where this store would be without her.
My name is Gash. I came from Iran, Persia, and when moved to this city, this store helped me about fair price and about any option to get that one with small budget, and very helpful. And also I am sometimes help them when short about some worker have a problem, I help them.
How long have you been coming to the Superette?
Around more than close to 20 years.
Do you have any favorite memories of coming to this place?
Absolutely. One time I remember one guy come and try to exactly as a shoplifter. Mostly here is free, nobody check it out. Other guy, push to them, put back. And for me, very exactly exciting time. Because, they are habit with that. But now, find it belongs to them, belongs to community.
My name is Juliana.
And my name is Lyndon.
And what brings you out to the Superette?
Well, it's been a part of the community for a long period of time, and it's always been really affordable groceries, especially with spiking costs of inflation.
And how did you find out about it? When did you start coming here, and what brought you out in the first place?
Actually, a little bit before the pandemic. One of my friends, she's been a part of the Nanaimo community for a long time, and she's known of the Superette for a very long time. And at the time, the Superette was having difficulties because the pandemic was affecting, many other community services, hard.
What do you think this place means to the community? If something about it changed, what would the impact be on the community, you think?
Yeah, I think it would be quite significant if it got bought out by, let's say, someone who was only interested in turning it into just another kind of cash grab type business. I mean, that would, I think, definitely have quite a negative effect on the people who rely on here for cheap sources of protein and vegetables. And let's hope whoever ends up purchasing it will kind of understand the role it plays in the community and see it as more than what it is, which is just, it's more than a business. It's a sort of place for people to be able to, sort of afford good food and not just, quickie cash grab type deal.
Do either of you have any favorite memories of your time coming here?
I wouldn't say a personal memory. I just really love the staff here, and every time I come to the grocery store, you always have a great chit chat. I know you go to a Walmart or something, they're very stressed individuals working there, and I don't blame them for being so upset, but just the little banters between staff and knowing what's going on in their day, and the jokes and the radio that they have going on, and they're singing along. It's just a wonderful experience that if they were to sell, and it'd be really, really missed.
Well, I'm Mark, local maintenance dude, so I've been working this area for 20 plus years, I owned a shop in the area, so I have lots of roots here,
And how long have you been coming to the Superette?
Oh geez, since early 2000s, I would think, thereabouts,
And why have you been coming to the Superette since then?
Why, I don't know. I mean, apart from the obvious prices, just love the atmosphere. It makes me feel like I'm kind of coming home. It's old school. There's lots of great reasons to come to Superette.
Have you heard it's for sale?
Yeah, sadly I have, and it's struck home. I can't say I hope it doesn't happen, because if that's what the owner wants, and he's a elder dude, so I respect his choices. It's just sad because I know it'll just be bulldozed, and they'll put some, something across the street here, which is needed. It's fine, but this is, more needed for this community than more residents, especially it's an odd corner, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, what would it mean if something were to change about this place?
What would it mean to the community? I don't know. Oh, geez, too much, it's a landmark, really, when you think about it. It's been here forever, right? It's 100 years as a convenience store or something. So yeah, it doesn't measure. There's a lot of people that need this store, right? They need it. They don't necessarily have a vehicle to get to other places where you might get sales, because there is one other place that has a similar supplier, but they don't have this choice. So hopefully, they'll take it on, but I don't think so, because they're a hardware store. So I can't begin to imagine life without it, because I'm in here, some weeks, especially like during COVID, I was in here almost daily.
Any other favorite memories of the Superette you'd like to share?
Too many laughs with the staff, and that's all inside stuff. I remember buying one of my first live Christmas trees here many decades ago. So yeah, I don't know. It's too good to lose, I feel. So it'd be a sad day if and when it goes.
Shoppers at Nanaimo's Superette, sharing their memories of the grocery store that was recently listed for sale. If you have a favorite memory of the Superette that you want to share, let us know. You can leave us a message on our booth line, and we'll play them on a future program. The number is 250-740-1017. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and Arby Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca/subscribe for updates from our nonprofit newsroom. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, email us at news@chly.ca. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
Midcoast Morning would not be possible without the funding of the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and listeners like you. Midcoast Morning is a project of CHLY's nonprofit newsroom. Support nonprofit journalism in Nanaimo and on the Salish Sea today by becoming a monthly sustaining donor at $5 or more per month. Support the program at chly.ca/donate. If you're already a supporter, record a voice memo telling others where you're listening from and why they too should support our work. After you're done, you can email it to us. Also, share the podcast with your friends. While Meta is blocking Canadian users from sharing news content on their Facebook feeds, you can still share our podcast directly with your friends via Facebook or Instagram Messenger. Finally, this program acknowledges and gives thanks to the Nanaimo First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.